Darkness is a good and necessary teacher. It is not to be avoided, denied, run from, or explained away. First, like Ezekiel the prophet, we must eat the scroll that is lamentation, wailing, and moaning in our belly, and only eventually becomes sweet as honey. By the time most people reach middle age, they've had days where life has lost its meaning. They no longer connect with an inner sense of motivation or joy. And sometimes this manifests as clinical depression and requires a therapist's skilled care and medication. But even if we don't experience depression, most of us go through a period of darkness, doubt, and malaise at some point in our lives. There's a darkness that we are led into by our own stupidity and selfishness, living out of the false self. And we have to work our way out of this kind of darkness by brutal honesty, confession, surrender, forgiveness, apology, and restitution. It may feel simultaneously like dying and being liberated. We resist going through the darkness and facing our shadow, so we usually need help, as the 12 steps wisely identify. An accountability partner, spiritual director, or counselor can help us navigate this difficult, ego-humiliating process. But there's another darkness that we're led into by God, grace, and the nature of life itself. In many ways, the loss of meaning, motivation, purpose, and direction might feel even greater here. The saints and the mystics called it the dark night of the soul. But even while we feel alone and that God has abandoned us, we sense that we have been led here intentionally. We know we are in liminal space, betwixt and between, on the threshold, and we have to stay here until we have learned something essential. It's still no fun, and it's filled with doubt and demons of every sort, but it is the darkness of being held closely by God without our awareness. This is where transformation happens. The darkness that we get ourselves into by our own sinful choices can also become the darkness of God. Regardless of the cause, the dark night is an opportunity to look for and to find God in different forms and ways that we've become accustomed to. Even if we don't feel like praying, staying committed to contemplative practice is particularly important. Sometimes it may be tempting to remain in the darkness. It becomes familiar, and we rebel against the light. The paralysis and self-pity has a strange attraction. We may feel an inner restlessness, as if we're aimlessly pacing back and forth along the same path. Allowing periods of this seemingly fruitless darkness may be part of deconstructing our false self, so that we can rebuild on the foundation of our true self. We must lose our old image of God and our old ways of experiencing God's presence to discover the absolute reality beneath all of our fantasies and fears.
I sing the mighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. I sing the wisdom that ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at his command, and all the seas obey. I sing the goodness of the Lord that filled the earth with food. He formed the creatures with his word, and then pronounced them good. Lord, how your wonders are displayed where'er I turn my eye. If I survey the ground I tread, or gaze upon the sky, there's not a plant or flower below, but makes your glories known. And clouds arise and tempests blow by order from your throne. Creatures as numerous as they be are subject to your care. There's not a place where we can flee, but God is present there. In heaven he shines with beams of love, with wrath in hell beneath. It's on his earth I stand or move, and it's his air I breathe. His hand is my perpetual guard, he keeps me with his eye. Why should I then forget the Lord, who is forever nigh?
We are loved by an unending love. We are embraced by arms that find us, even when we are hidden from ourselves. We are touched by fingers that soothe us, even when we are too proud for soothing. We are counseled by voices that guide us, even when we are too embittered to hear. We are loved by an unending love. We are supported by hands that uplift us, even in the midst of a fall. We are urged on by eyes that meet us, even when we are too weak for meeting. We are loved by an unending love, embraced, touched, soothed and counselled. Ours are the arms, the fingers, the voices. Ours are the hands, the eyes, the smiles. We are loved by an unending love. Amen.